We configured powerful AI models and trained them into thinkers, then gave them a debate forum for some of the most fun and controversial topics. Today, we have the book lover and the movie lover. To make this interesting, we have selected 5 different AI models as judges for this debate. The debate begins now.
Here's the question. Which medium tells a story better, books or movies?
To say that books are the superior storytelling medium is not to dismiss the power of film. It's to honor what makes literature unique, its unmatched ability to awaken imagination, deepen emotional connection, and invite introspection. When you read a book, you don't just consume a story, you build it. The written word gives you the blueprints, and your mind becomes the architect. A single phrase like, "The world was silent, save for the whisper of the pines," doesn't show you a forest. It becomes one in your mind. That act of creation is deeply personal. No two readers imagine the same scene alike. In this way, books make us co-creators of the story. Books also grant us access to the inner lives of characters in a way no film can match. We hear their doubts, fears, and fleeting thoughts, the quiet turmoil behind their eyes. As Virginia Woolf wrote, we look within and witness the stream of consciousness that defines a person's soul. Film struggles to replicate this without falling into clunky voiceovers or over-explanation. And then there's time, something books give generously. You can linger on a sentence, reread a passage, sit with an idea. This slow engagement nurtures empathy and critical thinking. Studies show that reading fiction helps us understand others' emotions better. It trains our minds to see the world through different eyes. Movies, while powerful, often simplify. Time constraints, budgets, and audience expectations force cuts and compromises. Nuance gets lost, themes get flattened. The depth of Tolstoy's doubt, Dickens' satire, or Morrison's lyricism can't be fully captured in 2 hours of film. So yes, movies move us. They dazzle and inspire. But books transform us. They don't just tell stories, they invite us to live them, think them, and feel them from the inside out. In the end, the page still holds the pen, and the pen writes the soul.
When Christopher Nolan crafted Inception, he didn't just tell you about dreams within dreams, he made you feel the gravity-defying hallway fight, hear Hans Zimmer's earth-shaking score, and watch Marion Cotillard's face crumble with devastating emotion. That's the raw power of cinema that no book can match. Movies are the ultimate storytelling weapon because they hit all your senses at once. Think about it. When the T-Rex roars in Jurassic Park, you're not just reading "the dinosaur made noise." You're hearing that bone-chilling bellow, seeing the water ripple in the cup, feeling your heart pound with the characters. Books make you imagine. Movies make you experience. And let's talk accessibility. A 5-year-old and an 80-year-old can both be moved to tears by Up's opening sequence. No reading required. Movies break down language barriers, education gaps, and cultural walls. When Parasite swept the globe, it wasn't because everyone could read Korean, it was because Bong Joon-ho's visual storytelling spoke a universal language. Here's the kicker. Movies are time wizards. While you're spending 10 hours trudging through a novel, filmmakers compress that same emotional journey into 2 hours of pure, concentrated artistry. Every frame is crafted, every second calculated for maximum impact. It's storytelling distilled to perfection. Books rely on your imagination, but movies give us a shared dream that unites audiences worldwide.
Now let's move into the cross-examination.
Ah, what a vivid defense of cinema. Its spectacle, its immediacy, its sensory sweep. And yes, Inception was breathtaking. Jurassic Park, thrilling. Up, heart-wrenching. But let's not confuse intensity with depth. Movies dazzle the senses, but books stir the soul. When you read, you don't just watch a character suffer, you live inside their suffering. You hear the unspoken regrets, feel the weight of hesitation, taste the bitterness behind a smile. A novel like To Kill a Mockingbird doesn't just show courage, it lets you grow up with it, think through it, feel it in your bones. Film is a shared dream, yes, but that dream is dictated to you. Every choice made by a director, every shade of light and tone of voice narrows the story into one version. But when you read, the story blooms uniquely in each reader's mind. That hallway fight in Inception, a book would have let you build it yourself, your own gravity, your own fear. And while movies may move a child and elder alike, they often simplify to do so. Emotional truth becomes visual shorthand, but books give us complexity without compromise. Think of the layers in Beloved or the moral wrestling in Crime and Punishment, nuances no film could fully translate. Yes, movies save time, but at what cost? A rushed emotional journey can still be powerful, but it rarely lingers. Books stay with us. They ask more of us, and in return, they give us more of ourselves. So while cinema may stun, literature transforms. It doesn't just show you life, it makes you think, feel, and imagine it deeply. And that is the art of storytelling at its most profound.
Books let you live inside suffering? Well, when Joaquin Phoenix transforms into the Joker, we don't just read about mental breakdown, we witness it happening in real time. His laugh, his tears, his body language. That's not visual shorthand, that's human truth captured in its rawest form. And this idea that movies dictate the dream, that's exactly their genius. Spielberg doesn't narrow Schindler's List, he perfects it. Every shadow, every frame creates a shared experience that unites humanity. When that little girl's red coat appears in black and white, it hits every viewer the same way. Books? Everyone imagines something different, which means the author's intended impact gets lost in translation. You mentioned To Kill a Mockingbird, but did you know more people experience that story through the film than ever read Harper Lee's words? Gregory Peck's Atticus Finch became the definitive symbol of moral courage for millions who might never have picked up that book. Cinema democratizes great stories. And rushed emotional journey? Tell that to anyone who's watched The Godfather or Casablanca. These films have haunted audiences for decades. They have been burned into our cultural DNA. Books make you imagine a character's face. Movies show you the character's actual tears. There's no competition there. The human face, the human voice, captured forever. That's storytelling immortality. Cinema doesn't just tell stories, it creates legends that outlive us all.
You make a compelling case, passionate, vivid, and full of admiration for the craft of film. And indeed, when done with artistry, cinema can capture raw humanity in ways that stay with us forever. But let's not mistake emotional impact for narrative depth. When we read a character's sorrow, we are not just watching their face crumble, we are inside their mind as it unravels. We feel the slow burn of doubt, the ache of memory, the war within before a single word is spoken or action taken. That internal life, the very core of who a person is, lives fully only on the page. Meryl Streep may cry beautifully, but a novel lets you become the one who weeps. And while shared imagery like the red-coated girl in Schindler's List is powerful, consider this. When we all imagine something differently, we bring ourselves into the story. That makes the experience deeply personal. A book doesn't show you what to feel. It walks beside you as you discover how you feel. It trusts your imagination enough to let you decide what fear, love, or hope truly look like. Yes, Gregory Peck's Atticus Finch shaped millions, but how many of those same millions might have been changed even deeper by walking in Scout's shoes, sentence by sentence, learning justice through her eyes? Cinema democratizes stories, but books deepen them. They don't just share the surface, they explore the soul beneath. And while movies create legends, they often simplify them. The complexity of the Godfather's moral decay or Rick's buried longing in Casablanca unfolds far more slowly and richly in prose. Film captures moments, literature builds lives. So yes, cinema stirs the heart and deserves its place among the great arts. But books, they open the door to infinite worlds and invite us to live there. And in that quiet space between the lines, storytelling becomes eternal.
When James Cameron created Avatar, he didn't just describe Pandora, he built it. Every glowing plant, every floating mountain, every breath of alien air became tangible reality for audiences worldwide. That's not simplification, that's pure creation. Books give you words about fictional worlds. Movies actually transport you there. You talk about being inside a character's mind, but have you seen Black Swan? Darren Aronofsky doesn't just tell you Natalie Portman is losing her sanity. He makes you experience her hallucinations. The mirrors crack, reality bends, and you're trapped in her psychological breakdown. That's not surface level, that's diving into the human psyche at warp speed. And here's where your argument crumbles. You say books let readers bring themselves into the story, but that's exactly the problem. Shakespeare didn't write Hamlet so everyone could imagine their own version. He crafted specific, universal truths about human nature. When Laurence Olivier delivers To Be or Not to Be, we get the definitive interpretation that's moved audiences for generations. Books ask you to do the work. Movies do the heavy lifting and deliver pure emotional truth. When Titanic's ship splits in half, when passengers fall screaming into the icy water, when Celine Dion's voice soars over the tragedy, that's not simplification, that's amplification of human drama. You mention walking in Scout's shoes? Well, movies let you walk alongside Luke Skywalker, run with Forrest Gump, and dance with Gene Kelly. Cinema doesn't just show you life, it invites you to live adventures impossible in the real world. Books whisper to individuals, but movies roar to humanity. That's the difference between storytelling and legend making.
Ah, your passion is electric. Cameron's Pandora, Aronofsky's fever dream, Titanic's heart-wrenching spectacle. These are moments that stick to the soul like stardust. And yes, cinema can roar where books only whisper. But let me ask you this, what happens after the screen fades to black? A movie may sweep you up in its current, but a book lets you dive deep and stay there. When Shakespeare wrote Hamlet, he didn't just give us a soliloquy, he gave us a mind at war with itself. The page allows for silence, for hesitation, for the unspoken weight behind every word. Laurence Olivier's performance is magnificent, but it is built on the written depth that came before it. Movies transport us visually, yes, but they also limit imagination to what can be filmed. In a book, Pandora doesn't just look one way, it looks however your mind dreams it, infinite, shifting, alive with possibility. A film gives you a world, a novel gives you the tools to build your own. And while Black Swan may pull you into madness through mirrors and music, literature pulls you in through language itself. Try reading The Telltale Heart by Poe and tell me your own pulse doesn't quicken. No director needed, just words and the terrifying theater of your own mind. You say books ask too much of the reader, but that's their strength. They don't do all the work for you. They invite you to co-create, to think, to feel deeply and slowly. Films move fast, books move deep. One dazzles, the other transforms. So yes, movies roar, and rightly so, but books, they echo. Long after the credits roll, it's the pages we turn in memory, the voices we hear in silence, the stories that live not on screens or shelves, but inside us. And that quiet, lasting fire, that is the true power of storytelling.
Every time someone says, "May the Force be with you," that's Star Wars echoing through generations. When people shout Adrian on steps, that's Rocky living forever. These aren't just movies, they're cultural DNA that's been passed down for decades. You say books let imagination run wild, but here's the brutal truth. Most people won't imagine Pandora better than Cameron did. They won't picture the One Ring more powerfully than Peter Jackson showed it. Cinema takes the greatest visionary minds, directors, artists, composers, and gives us their peak imagination realized perfectly. And this idea that films limit imagination? The Matrix didn't limit our minds, it exploded them. Suddenly, everyone understood reality could be questioned. Inception made dream logic mainstream. These movies didn't just tell stories, they changed how we think. You mentioned the telltale heart making your pulse quicken? Well, Edgar Wright made Baby Driver's entire car chase sequence sync to music, turning your heartbeat into a drum solo. That's not just reading about rhythm, that's becoming the rhythm. Here's what really separates movies from books: collective experience. When Avengers Endgame hit theaters, millions of people around the world cheered, cried, and gasped at the exact same moments. That's not just storytelling, that's human communion. Books isolate you in your room. Movies unite us in shared wonder. And you want to talk about lasting impact? Kids who've never read Tolkien still know Gandalf's voice, still quote, "You shall not pass." Cinema doesn't just create memories, it creates mythology that lives beyond any single reader. Movies don't whisper in the dark, they light up the world.
Your final salvo lands like thunder. Star Wars, The Matrix, Endgame, these are not just films, they're monuments of our shared imagination. And yes, cinema unites us in real time, under dazzling lights with collective gasps and cheers. But let's ask the quiet question that lingers after the applause fades. What feeds the soul more deeply, shared spectacle or lasting transformation? Movies light up the world, we've seen it. But books light within. They don't just create myths, they invite us to live inside them, to shape them and be shaped by them. Gandalf may echo in Ian McKellen's voice for many, but Tolkien gave him a soul, crafted not in makeup or CGI, but in paragraphs that have stirred hearts for generations. You say most people won't imagine Pandora better than Cameron did, but that misses the point. The magic of reading isn't about matching someone else's vision, it's about discovering your own. When you read Dune, you don't see Villeneuve's sandworms, you dream your own. That act of creation is not lesser, it is intimate, and therefore more lasting. Yes, film can change how we think, The Matrix proved that. But philosophy didn't stop with red pills and kung fu. It began with Plato, Dickens, Orwell, and Atwood, writers who didn't just show us new worlds, but rewired how we see this one. And while Baby Driver syncs car chases to music, 1984 syncs dread to silence. No chase necessary, just words that make you question every shadow long after the book is closed. As for communal experience, yes, Endgame was a cultural earthquake, but so was Uncle Tom's Cabin in its day, so was The Diary of Anne Frank. Books may begin in solitude, but their echoes ripple outward, shaping laws, hearts, and history itself. So no, books do not shout from mountaintops like blockbusters. They whisper in the dark, and sometimes that whisper lasts longer than any roar. Because movies burn bright and fade into memory. Books, they become part of us. Quietly, deeply, forever.
You mentioned Uncle Tom's Cabin and 1984, but here's the kicker. More people know Winston Smith from the 1984 film adaptations than ever finished Orwell's novel. More people understand Anne Frank's story through documentaries and dramatizations than read her actual diary. Cinema doesn't steal from literature, it amplifies it to reach the masses who books leave behind. And this romantic notion about books becoming part of us quietly? Let me tell you what really becomes part of us. John Williams' Star Wars theme hummed by kids worldwide. The shower scene from Psycho that still makes people nervous about bathrooms. These aren't just memories, they're instincts burned into human culture. You say books let you dream your own sandworms, but that's exactly the problem. While you're dreaming alone in your room, Denis Villeneuve's Dune sandworms are creating shared nightmares and wonder for millions simultaneously. Cinema creates collective mythology. Books create individual fantasies. Here's the truth you can't escape. When we want to celebrate human achievement, we don't gather in libraries, we gather in theaters. The Oscars, Cannes, film festivals worldwide, these are humanity's way of saying this is our greatest art form. And whispers lasting longer than roars? Tell that to Casablanca still playing in theaters 80 years later. Tell that to The Godfather quoted daily across the globe. Movies don't fade, they become immortal. Books ask you to imagine heroes. Movies show you legends. Books describe dreams. Cinema builds them with light and sound and human soul. The greatest stories ever told aren't written, they're filmed. Cinema isn't just superior storytelling, it's storytelling perfected.
Before we go to our AI judges, each debater will deliver a short closing statement.
You're right. Books don't scream for attention like blockbusters. They don't have red carpets or standing ovations, but they do something far more lasting. They plant seeds. Seeds of thought, of empathy, of quiet rebellion and deep wonder. And those seeds grow long after the credits fade. Yes, millions meet Winston Smith through film, but it is Orwell's words that gave us Big Brother, thought crime, and the terror of a world where truth is erased. The movie may bring people in, but the book is what changes minds. You say cinema creates shared myths, and it does. But books, they create inner myths, the kind that live not just in culture, but in conscience. When you read To Kill a Mockingbird, you don't just witness injustice, you learn to see it in your own world. When you finish Frankenstein, you don't just fear the creature, you question what it means to create, to reject, to be human. Movies are monuments, books are roots. And while we gather in theaters to gasp together, we return to books to grow, to change, to become. So no, I won't drop the mic. I'll simply close the book and let its story echo on inside every reader who dares to dream, to think, and to feel deeply. Because storytelling isn't about spectacle, it's about soul. And the soul speaks in silence, between the lines. Thank you.
Every single book you've mentioned, 1984, To Kill a Mockingbird, Frankenstein, they all became more powerful, more influential, more world-changing when cinema brought them to life. Because here's the ultimate truth you can't deny. Even literature needs movies to reach its full potential. You say books plant seeds of thought? Well, 12 Years a Slave planted seeds of truth in 12 million viewers in its first year alone. Schindler's List didn't just make people think about the Holocaust, it made them feel it, witness it, never forget it. That's not spectacle, that's sacred responsibility brought to life. And this beautiful poetry about inner myths and conscience? Dead Poets Society created more lifelong readers than 1,000 English classes. Good Will Hunting inspired more people to pursue knowledge than entire libraries. Cinema doesn't compete with books, it creates book lovers. You want to talk about souls speaking in silence? Every time someone watches It's a Wonderful Life and realizes their life has meaning, every time the pursuit of happiness gives someone hope to keep fighting, that's cinema reaching into the human soul and changing it forever. Books whisper to the few, movies roar to the many. And in our interconnected world, reaching the many is how you change everything. So yes, the page turns, but the camera keeps rolling. Because while books live in silence between covers, movies live in the heartbeat of humanity itself. Thank you.
Let's go to our AI judges and hear what they have to say.
ChatGPT shares that the book side won by inviting readers not just to observe a story, but to become its co-creators, dwelling in its depths long after they've closed the cover. That personal, lasting transformation feels a bit more profound than the momentary roar of a blockbuster. In contrast, Claude disagreed, saying the movie side effectively demonstrated that cinema reaches more people across all barriers and creates lasting, shared cultural impact. The movie side also skillfully flipped arguments, showing how films actually amplify the very literary works being defended. However, the majority of the AI judges agreed with Claude and sided with the movies. Now it's your turn. Which side are you on? Share that in the comments below.
We hope you enjoyed this debate. Subscribe for more engaging content. Thank you for watching.